Hello, everyone. Welcome to this webinar. My name is Maria Giuffrida from Trust IT. I'm one of the partners of EDU4Standards project. Allow me 1 minute while we wait for other people to join to share my slides, introductory slides for this event. So okay, I think you should see my presentation now. Welcome again. I see the number of attendees slowly increasing, so maybe let's wait 1 minute before starting officially. In the meantime, let me give you some, let's say, logistic instructions. This webinar is going to be recorded, and we will have the slides that you will see today and also the recording of the video of this webinar on our EDU4Standards channel later this week for you to maybe watch it again or share it with other colleagues or people that you think would be interested in the topic of the webinar. So I think we can start slowly. This is the fifth webinar of EDU4Standards. It's titled "How to Teach Standardization: Discover the EDU4Standards Teacher Support Tool." So it's pretty straightforward. We want to present you a specific tool we have been developing in the past few months. But before going to that, and my colleagues will actually focus on that, I just wanted to give a very general overview of the project. So this is a EU-funded project from the Horizon Europe program. It started in January 2024. We are a coordination and support action lasting 3 years. So we are almost halfway, let's say, in the life of the project. And the main objective of EDU4Standards is to support the, of course, increase of education about standardization in Europe, so increase the number of institutions that offer teaching on standardization, also increase the number of teachers offering courses about standardization, and this tool we present today is a first step also in this direction. To achieve these two objectives, we are developing an innovative teaching concept of standardization, which contains many materials, and you will see something today. This innovative teaching concept will also be tested in pilots later on in the next few months by the project partners. And then also, of course, we also have broader objectives in terms of dissemination, communication, and involvement of SDOs, standard development organizations, students, and other people interested in this topic by organizing academic standard days and a student association later on. Of course, we do this in synergy with other initiatives and with a lot of, outreach and community building efforts on the side. Just before we go to, let's say, the tool that we recently developed, I wanted to give you an overview of other teaching support material that EDU4Standards has already available on the website. These are the teaching repositories. So these are tools, resources that have been developed also by external entities or other projects on the topic of standardization. So for instance, we have some material from SendICT, HS Booster, C-Blocks projects, but also by SDOs like DIN. If you go on the website, you will see all the resources that external, initiatives have developed and that we collect in our platform. We also have on our platform available a lot of deliverables, public deliverables, not officially approved by the European Commission yet, but they share intermediate results of the project, and you will see also the deliverable that is at the basis of today's event, which is the deliverable 2.3. Just another information, we have another webinar coming up next week on the 14th of May on another topic, the Academic Standard Days. So if you like the project, if you like today's webinar, be sure to join us also next week, and you can just connect to edu4standards.eu/events to see whatever event is in the pipeline. So these were just the initial few words of introduction on my side. Now we can move on to the main topic of today. We will have speakers, the partners of EDU4Standards. So after me, I will leave the floor to Ivana Mijatovic, who will present how the teacher support tool was built. Then we have two, let's say, testimonials of producing teaching material and standardization courses, respectively by Nizar Abdelkafi from Politecnico di Milano and Gerten van de Ka from TU Delft. And we will have a Q&A dedicated session at the end. However, we want to, be flexible in the managing of your requests and your curiosity. So if you have any, burning question or any curiosity before the end of the webinar, you can ask, okay, whatever you want using the chat or the Q&A box even before, okay? And we will filter the questions and maybe address some of the questions already during the other parts of the webinar. You can also use the chat to maybe introduce yourself or to say what you do. And so let's try to use this occasion also as a networking, if possible, opportunity, even if it's only online event. So this is the agenda. I hope it's clear enough. And without further ado, I will leave the floor to Ivana's presentation now. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I will share my screen. Good afternoon to everyone. And I hope that, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Good afternoon to everyone. I wish you a warm welcome to today's presentation of experience in teaching standardization and building teaching material for standardization. But first, I will explain how we in EDU4Standards developed a teacher support tool, which have the main intention to support sharing knowledge and experience in standardization, and as other activity of EDU4Standards like pilots and standards academic days. This teacher support tool is aiming to contribute to building community gathered around teaching standardization. But first, I would like to just point to what are the objectives of EDU4Standards. So mainly our project is focused on inclusion of standardization knowledge in curricula of higher education institutions. We are focused on increasing the number of higher education institutions and universities who are offering teaching on standardization, and increasing number of teaching who offering courses and students who attending those courses. However, to fulfill these objectives, we have certain challenges. Standardization is not overly accepted academic discipline, and there are certain challenges to getting started and stay engaged in education on standardization or teaching standardization. However, standardization involves complex complex solution of the problems, and evolving technical, regulatory, and global dimensions. In that context, just teacher as individual have need to see how different teachers did that. Shared experience, shared expertise, and sharing a good practice can be one of solution of growing complexity of problems that are solving by standardization. On the other side, standardization is closely tied to emerging technologies like artificial intelligence, blockchain, cybersecurity, and so on. And keeping up with rapid changes in technology, rapid changes in geopolitics and other aspects of standardization can be very challenging. And having a group, having a system, having support in that can be very valuable to just have a positive answer on decision to start teaching standardization. Standardization affects engineering, law, economics, business, and more, but few of us are experienced in all of these areas. So supporting interactive, interdisciplinary teaching and learning is very important, but you cannot do that alone. Standardization is overly practical discipline. So the combination of actively involving industry representatives, representatives from SDOs, and so on, is something that we know that represent a good practice. But what we see that we need to establish, we need community of teachers and educators on standardization. So we need more experience and more sharing those experience. To do that, we started with a concept related to innovative teaching of standardization. As a multidimensional approach, it tended to effectively guide the development of new educational curricula or their parts and content while benchmarking the existing ones. So the aim of this concept is to support versatile, attractive, and high-quality standardization education. And it is based on industry need and social expectation. All our rational analysis of rationale are given in our deliverable 2.3. And our target group in these sections are educators, teachers, trainers, in higher education institutions, especially those who are engaged in bachelor and master studies, vocational school teachers, trainers, and educators at national standardization bodies and others, SDOs, as well as trainers and educators of other organizations that aim to provide high-quality education and training on standardization. Our indirect target groups are students, but in this context, mostly students at bachelor and master level. So the idea behind innovative teaching concept of standardization is that teaching should be based on industry need. We specifically addressed perspective of small and medium enterprises and social expectations. EU values, competitiveness, innovation, sustainability, green and digital transition. Our concept is promoting common values. It's related to inclusive education, and it supports European dimension of teaching, which is explained in recommendation of Council of European Union from May 2018. However, we need to know, we need to answer the questions, what is body of knowledge in standardization? Even this attempt is not related to designing or to capture all body of knowledge on standardization. The concept is related to knowledge production in research papers on standardization and a publication from researchers and national standards bodies and SDOs. However, gaining experience in standardization, the role of national standards bodies and SDOs, especially European SDOs, is critical. What is this concept is specific is that a lot of attention is given to collegial support. So we do not want to reinvent the wheel, and we would like to offer a teacher our experience and to gain more teachers who will not starting from a clean slate, but they will have experience and they will have some recommendations. So the main idea is that using this concept and, of course, sharpening and just analyzing different experience to advance knowledge and experience in education on standardization. Innovative teaching concept is related to knowledge areas. So knowledge areas are practically a way to systemize knowledge related to standardization. In this context, it is systematization which are in focus, which have in a focus need of educators and learners. So we want to systemize the knowledge in groups in which the units for teaching can be found. Innovative teaching concept of standardization is based on 4 knowledge areas. First one is basic knowledge of standardization, needs to raise awareness. The second one is related to standardization interdependencies with other areas and roles in specific context. First one, knowledge areas are mainly, if I can say that, theoretical. Practical aspect is in the two next knowledge areas. Knowledge area 3, strategic use of standards, and knowledge area 4, strategic participation in standard development. These are related on theory and practice. So basically, knowledge area 1 is related to basic knowledge of standardization and based on industry needs. In industry needs, we identified the main knowledge area topics, which are provided answer on question why standardization is important, what are standards and standardization, who use standards, who develops standards, how standards are developed. On the other side, the knowledge area 2, standardization interdependencies and roles in specific context, is related to different aspects of standardization in the context. In this area, we identified initially topics like European system of standardization, interdependence between standardization and research, interdependencies between standardization and innovation, interdependence between standards and markets, legal aspects of standardization, standardization in small and medium enterprises, quality infrastructure, European values and principles, and standardization, role of standards, and digital and green transformation. Those topics that I already mentioned are the topics that are initially defined, but the number of those topics are rising. And the interest among educators is mostly in this area. For example, people who teach some blockchain standards maybe are interested to show their students something more about standardization, so we can advise them to see, to not only talk about standards, but to talk a little bit about standardization, at least a little bit about standardization. So we offer knowledge area 1. So basically, what is the purpose of topics? Topics are intervened, so topics are interconnected, and every teachers, trainers, facilitators choose what they want and combine these topics in a teaching unit as their need or as they wish. The knowledge area 3 is related to strategic use of standards. We identified very important topics in this area, like motives and barriers to applying standards and how to find right standards. Knowledge Area 4 is related to strategic participation in standard development, and initial identified topics are related to motives for and barriers to participating in standards development, how to participate in TC and working groups, how to identify the need for new standards. So basically, these are topics that are needed a little bit of practice. So the help support of national standardization bodies, European Standards Organization might be needed. However, theoretical concept is needed, something to just make them more practical. So the main intention of EDU4Standard teacher support tool based on innovative teaching concept is to become a focal point. So a communication tool, foundation for exchanging information, good practice experience, as well as teaching material. It is not, yes, there is elements of repositorium, but it is not a simple repositorium. And it is something that is a dynamic tool. The structure of every topic and is the same. So what we want by using some unified structure of presenting some topics and ideas, experience, materials to the teachers, we just have identified the 6 elements. First is topics. Topics are chosen to represent a unit that educators can combine with other units of their choice. So the topics are intervened, and one recommendation is that all topics have social, green, and digital examples. After the topics, which is often only a name of the topic, short instruction is given, and short instructions is a paragraph or 2 related to elaboration why understanding this specific topic is important or relevant. The intended learning outcomes examples. This section is related to our document deliverable 2.1 and the systematization of intended learning outcomes. So in this section, it is explained the connection, but we provide only intended learning outcomes examples. So teachers can do what can just define the different intended learning outcomes. In the next segment, we are presenting information about recommended teaching case studies, serious games, or others. Here, these are providing informations about existing materials which can be used on classes in specific case. For example, in this chapter, in this part of structure, often there is no teaching case, but there are knowledge, source of knowledge for preparing this teaching case for classes or for a class assignment. Next part of the structure is good practice. Good practice is practically description of educators' experience in working with students or trainees. And good practice is practically few sentences or paragraph related to a specific experience with this topic, with this material, with this game. And in that way, we are sharing our good practice. By the end, it is in the structure, you can find recommended sources. It is the list of literature, books, papers that is recommended to someone who would like to address these topics. In practice, EDU4Standard teacher support tool is web-based tool. So you can reach EDU4Standards teacher support tool by our website by clicking teaching and after that teacher support tool. Teacher support tool is practically all which I already explained. By clicking any of knowledge areas, you can find content which is related to the a specific topic. By clicking, for example, first basic knowledge for raising awareness on standardization, you can have description of this knowledge area and the topic in this knowledge area. In the topic, you will find specific structure that I already described. For example, topic users of standards, there is short explanation why this topic is important, what are the keys aspect of that topic. There are some connection with intended learning outcome, and you can find recommended teaching cases, serious games, and other materials, as well as good practice. So in recommended sources, there are you can see here, there are, for example, for games, there are explanation, what is the game, how the game is played, and the contact person, how can you get further information about this game and possibility to use this game at your classes. Recommended sources are often defined as, for example, key recommended sources and other relevant sources. Key recommended sources are related, for example, in this case, we recommended Etsy book, but chapter 5, section 5.3, and chapter 7. So I think that instructions are quite informative and easy to find. However, the main task of EDU4Standards teacher support tool is to provide exchange of opinion, exchange of ideas, exchange of teaching practice, good practice in teaching standardization, as well as teaching material. So if you have already developed some teaching material and you want to provide information about that material and possibilities for other teachers to use it, just go in the topic and you will find after every topic just one button with information. Would you like to improve this contact? Leave the comment. You can do it by leaving the comment and just say, in that context, in this topic, I would have to add this, this, and this. So if you have some other teaching materials, it can be part of a repositorium, and information about already existing teaching material can be found on our website. If you know of any existing papers or publication on topic, and you think that this topic deserves to find their place in this, please just add it to and just inform us that we just know about your. We will know about your contributions, and you will be a contributor to our EDU4Standards teacher support tool. If you have projects that include training material on standardization, for example, we are developing right now a new topic, blockchain standardization related to materials which are developed by Horizon Europe project C-Blocks. So I think that is quite interesting. And in other contexts, we are preparing several teaching case studies which are related to experience of researchers and scientists with standardization. If your project includes training materials on standardization, please just, no matter is that project European or national, it would be great to have information about material and information about possibility that some teachers use that same material. If you have an idea related to topic but no time to develop it, please call us. We will listen carefully and we will help you to develop topic, and you will in that context provide instructions. We will do all the job, and after you will review the topic. If you have experience in training students in standardization, and would like to share your experience, please do that and provide what was good and what went not so good. We would love to have experience as much as more experience in a way, in the presented in the best way we can do it. However, if you want to share experiences, standardization, but have no idea how to write your teaching case study, we are supporting indeed that area too. So if you would like to your experience present in a way that be ready to use a teaching case study, we can explain how to, and we can organize call, or you can join our collaborative work group. Then we will do that together. If you want, as well as if you want to participate in creating teaching materials, but you have more expert knowledge but less teaching knowledge, we are here and we will provide the best we can support to these two. And of course, if you want to review a new teaching material, concepts, and so on, please just inform us. Up to now, that will be all from my side. Thank you so much for your attentions. Please, if you are interested, just call me or Maria or any partner from EDU4Standards, and I hope that we will collaborate in near future. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ivana, for the presentation. During your presentation, there were 4 questions actually, so 2 in the chat and 2 in the Q&A. I suggest maybe I leave you a minute or 2 to read the questions while we go on with the presentations, and then you can decide whether you want to type an answer in the chat to some of the questions, or we'll leave them at the end, okay? So you can check the questions while maybe Nizar goes on with his part. We have 2 questions in the chat, Ivana, and 2 in the Q&A. Welcome, Nizar. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Maria. I will share my screen first of all. Does it work correctly?
Yes, we see it. We see it properly. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So I would like to welcome all of you to this webinar and to my presentation. I'm Nizar Abdelkafi, and I'm professor at Politecnico di Milano and also partner in the project EDU4Standards. So what I will do today is that to introduce you to the ETSI teaching material, which is the material developed in collaboration with the European Telecommunications Standardization Institute. And this journey actually of the development of the teaching material started mid-2016, so some years ago, and it has been done in the so-called Special Task Force 515, which was initiated by ETSI and also supported by the European Commission. And the members that have been involved, the authors actually that develop the materials, they come from different institutions: Germany, France, Italy, Spain, and Belgium. And for the first edition of the book that we have developed, we needed 2.5 years. So by end of 2018, 19, we finished, yeah, 2018, sorry, we finished the first edition of the book, because we had afterwards a second edition, which has been the revision of the first edition and was finished by 2021. So I would like just here to provide the goals and objectives that we had as we developed the material. The material is aiming, or was in, we aimed actually to facilitate education on ICT standardization among lecturers and students. We know that the topic is not well diffused, and we would like to achieve a better diffusion of the topic to make it interesting, attractive among students and teachers, lecturers. And the second objective is to foster the position of ICT standardization in educational programs, trainings, and academic curricula. So what is best than as providing a textbook with complementary materials to potential lecturers and professors that can use they can use it for the development of their own teaching and their own classes. And the overall goal actually is we wanted also to improve the employability of future graduates in the area of standardization. We are in need of experts in standardization, and one important objective is to provide the possibility to people who are interested, to learners who are interested, to learn from a book that contains many important topics in standardization. Now, very important to say is that for the first edition, what we have done is that we started with an exploratory study of educational requirements in ICT. We asked just the question, let's look at teachers and lecturers, perhaps that are already doing standardization in their classes, or people that are from practitioners, what they would include, let's say, in if they had to teach standardization. And we have here also some statements. You can see some statements on the right-hand side of the slide with regard to what we have been told by experts, let's say by people that are related to standardization and education. For example, one said, you can only get people with standardization experience actually from your competitors. Graduates usually do not have any standardization experience. Another interviewee meant use pictures that are easy to understand and that people can easily relate to. For example, QWERTY, beer bottles, stairs in different countries. Then another one meant many people teach standards as a minor part of their lecture, and it is also difficult to identify them. It's really a challenge to identify people that are actually teaching standardization, because they may not teach you a full course on standardization, but they are, so to say, including standardization through the back door, if I may say this. So as a part within their course. And here the last statement we have, keep the material rather short and focused. So do not have a very long material. So we did in total 26 interviews, and there have been many topics that have been suggested. We tried to analyze everything in order to develop the contents of the book. We identify the introduction to the basics of standardization. This is actually very straightforward. So to introduce people, learners to the basics, how to work with standards, the standardization environment, especially landscape, processes, rules, etc. IPR and standardization, standardization management, but also the macroeconomic perspective of standardization and how it contributes to the economy, standardization, regulation, and law, to be here clear that regulation and law we did not include in our textbook. It was otherwise it will be really very long textbook, and therefore we kept it perhaps hopefully for next editions. Now you can see here the cover page of the textbook, so and also the main contents, the main chapters that we included. So we start, of course, with an introduction to standards, but we have also in the introduction for standards. For example, we deal with the advantages and the limitations of standards. We provide some ideas to students how they can search for standards, how they may read standards, how they are interpreting the title and the different codes we have for standards, etc. Then the standards ecosystems with the plethora of institutions that we have involved, etc. We also deal with the harmonized standards there. The production of standards, the fourth chapter. With regard, we have here the TBT principles for the generation of open standards, but also the competencies that professionals need in order to be effective and productive in the creation of standards. We have also a strategic perspective on standardization. We think, and the standards are very important for the strategic orientation of companies. So we provide there some ideas about how companies can leverage standardization as a competitive advantage. IPR and standardization and innovation, of course, but also IPR and standardization. And as mentioned also before, and it was as suggested by the interviewees, also the economic perspective on standardization, but also the relationship to public procurement. So this is, by the way, the cover page of the second edition. If you are interested in downloading the book, you can download it for free at Etsy. Here you have the link to the textbook, and you can download it as a PDF document. Concerning the features of the book, now the book has many different features, but we wanted to create a teaching or a learning material for standardization education that is really tailored to the requirements and challenges of the ICT sector. But to be very clear also is that the principles of standardization that we are mentioning in the book, that we are discussing and analyzing in the book, they may be also used in different areas, in different sectors. But the examples that we have in the book, they are really focused on the ICT sector. Another thing which is important also, and I saw before a question in the chat, the teaching materials are aimed at universities, but also they can be used by professionals. So there will be no issue in order to adapt the textbook or to use it for internal trainings, even though also why not for vocational education. So this is important. Now, the features of the book, and I will detail them one by one, the modular design. There are accompanying slides of the textbook. We have learning objectives also in every chapter. We have visualizations, examples, case studies, quizzes, and also corresponding solutions to the questions and the quizzes. What is modular design? What we mean with modular design is actually to have the chapters more or less independent of each other. So somebody that is interested in reading the book may start at whatever chapter he or she likes. Therefore, we have some repetitions, and we try to keep these repetitions as few as possible so that to not have a lot of repetitions, because they could be also annoying, especially for the one who is reading the book from cover to cover. Then we have references to other chapters. So there are some cross-referencing, and also we tried here to keep them as few as possible. Very important, every chapter is also containing abbreviations. I know that Abbreviations, especially for new learners of standardization, they could be intimidating. I know a lot of people, they told me, yeah, whenever we want to start to deal with standardization, these acronyms that we have, they're really intimidating, and we need, yeah, it reduces somehow the accessibility to the topic. And also, every chapter is containing a cluster. Now, for the slides, if you are interested to, and everyone that is interested to download them, they can be downloaded here. And this is, yeah, perhaps a flavor of the design of the first edition of the slides, because, and for the slides, there is a new slides design that has been published very recently, so a couple of months ago by Etsy, and it is also downloadable. Yeah, here it is the design of the new slides, as you can see. It is also downloadable. If you require the PowerPoint file, you have to make a request on that link. So there is on the web page, you can have a request form, and you can then Etsy will contact you in order to make the PowerPoint accessible to you. Every chapter has also learning objectives. According to our experiences as teachers, as professors, we know that it's very important that students start with learning objectives, so they know exactly what they will learn. So you can see also in the formulations, students should be able, students should know, students should acquire knowledge. Students should understand. So this is very important to provide to students. Also, we have used a big number of illustrations. So you may find like flow diagrams here, as you have here. You may have some statistical diagrams like histograms, but you may find illustrations like the ones you have in the bottom in order to make the teaching material, of course, as attractive as possible for prospective learners. Examples are provided along the book, and they are provided in gray boxes as they are illustrated here on this slide. So whenever you need examples, you don't need to go through the whole text. You can go in a targeted way and look at the gray boxes which represent the examples. We have also case studies. For us, a case study could be actually two things. So the case study could be related. So they are not examples, the case studies, because they are much broader, they are more expanded, they have a much richer description. And a case, it could be a standard, how a standard has been created, for example, or it could be a project like here, the 3GPP project that we provide in the book as a case study. And all chapters, they end up with quizzes and solutions. And quizzes, actually, they provide a feeling of satisfaction to students, because if they answer the questions well and they have provided the right answers, of course, this provided a certain feeling of accomplishment and of comfort that they have learned the materials. Of course, it is a direct application of the contents of the book. Okay, in a nutshell, if I try to summarize, so the book has rich contents, and it is accessible actually to the interested readers. Its writing style, I think, is very accessible, and also there are many pictures and illustrations. It's modular design, also making it possible to start from whatever chapter the students are interested in. There are also the basic and more advanced content. So the three first chapters with respect to the introduction to basic standards, the ecosystems of standardization and production of standards, they are the basic ones. Then there are the more advanced ones, which are, let's say, the strategic perspective, the innovation and standardization, etc. There's a full slide set that is provided. The length of the book is, I think, very reasonable. It's 280 pages. So it encourages readers to perhaps read it from cover to cover. The book is visual, very visual. There is, of course, many acronyms, but we have a list of abbreviations and glossary that explain for every book, again, the key words and the key concepts. And we have also free download of the contents. Now, if we try to look ahead, perhaps what we would like to do in the future, okay, first of all, if you use the material or you read the material or you go through it, we will be very happy to get your feedback. We would like also to extend, if possible, the teaching materials with some MOOCs, getting into the third edition. Also, why not developing a web page around the textbook, developing also standardization games. We are doing this in the EDU4Standards project, but not necessarily with orientation, so to say, on ICT standardization. And also, and this is, I think, the dream of every author, is to position the book as a key reference for ICT standardization, especially for future generations. So looking forward to getting your ideas, suggestions, and comments, and every comment and suggestion are really welcome. So if you'd like to contact me, you can use my email address, nisa.abdelkafi@polymit. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Nizar, for presenting your experience with this book. I think we can follow a similar process as with Ivana's part. So a couple of more questions came into the Q&A box. If you see anything that you would like to answer, Nizar, you can do it directly in the box, and then anything else that's not been addressed, we leave it for the end. Reply maybe by
Great.
speaking.
Great. Yeah.
Okay, so I think now we can leave the floor to the last presentation by Gerten. So Nizar, you can stop sharing the screen, or maybe I can remove it. Gerten, you can share your slides. Okay, you have to unmute yourself.
Do you see the slides?
Yes, we can see it. We can hear you. Yes.
And good. Okay, well, thank you very much. I think this is a nice opportunity to also say something about how do you implement teaching on standardization actually at a university. So the target audience for me is a little bit different. It is master students, students that are really at the last phase of their master program. My name is Geert van der Ka, and I am an associate professor of standardization and business strategy working at Delft University of Technology. So where is that located? Teaching on standardization. It's basically located in our Master of Science on Management of Technology, and specifically in the course on technology, strategy, and entrepreneurship. Later on in the program, students can also choose to go and choose for an elective course on technology battles. And I will be touching upon these two courses in more detail. When doing so, I would also like to tell you a little bit about the philosophy that I have for teaching on standardization, and that is inquiry-based teaching, but it is also the so-called blended learning, and also the notion that teaching and research and education on standardization might be intertwined. So let's start with that. My research is about standards battles. So it's about factors that affect the outcome of standards battles. So what strategies can firms apply in order to reach success with their standard? We're looking at, for instance, the old battle between VHS versus Betamax, right? We all know, probably those of you that are a little bit older know that VHS eventually won that battle. But why is that the case? I'm very much interested in that. And that is also what I want to teach my students. What can firms do to try to achieve success with their standard? And that is what is done in these two courses on technology strategy and entrepreneurship and technology battles. So let's go more into detail in the first course. What I start with is basically explaining the background, right? The context in which firms have to apply a technology strategy. And often what we see there is that this context is characterized by S-curves, right? So the technology improves first gradually, and then it accelerates more until eventually the limit of the technology is reached. Now, that is S-curves that is related to technology improvement, but you can also apply those S-curves to technology diffusion, right? So first, just a couple of people will adopt this new technology, and then more and more people will adopt the technology until the moment that the market is saturated. What I then also teach is the notion of technology cycles. So you can argue that technological change tends to be cyclical. That means that it all starts with a technological discontinuity, which ushers in a period of radical change, experimentation, right, trial and error, up until the moment that a dominant design is reached, a dominant design or a dominant standard, and then incremental innovation sets in until the moment that a technological discontinuity destroys this, right? And then starts a new technology cycle again. And then I come to that topic of, okay, so a design, a dominant design emerges. But how then? Can we maybe influence that design, right? Can we influence which of these designs will become dominant? Because if we can do that, then maybe we can also influence which standard, or which de facto standard will be reached. And then I explain to students that there are multiple dimensions of value, right? A technology, a standard, a design can have a value that is accruing from the technological standalone value, but you can also look at, for instance, network effects, right? So a technology increases in value when it is more adopted by more different, by more people. And then I also explain the notion of complementary goods, complementary products. Like for instance, for the VHS recorder, right? There were a lot of videotapes available. And because of the fact that there were a lot of videotapes available, the value of the video recorder to the users also increased. And then I also teach on platform ecosystems. So platforms and standards and dominant designs are, of course, interchangeably used in the literature. So you see there, I'm doing a lot of research on these topics, but also I'm trying to introduce these topics in my education, and thereby also establish that link with standards. So as I've told you, the philosophy that I apply is a kind of a blended learning approach. That is the kind of the format that I apply in these courses. What I do is I start each week with an appetizer, and that can be a topical video or kind of an up-to-date example of the material, the content that I am teaching that week. It can be, for instance, a video on a standard battle. Well, VHS and Betamax is a little bit old, but maybe a more recent battle, right? Or at least it should be something that is related to that what I'm teaching that week. Then in the second day, I offer a teaching game. At this moment, students do not know yet what this whole week will bring them. So what will be the content that is offered in that week, but they are activated again by playing this game. And I use there the platform wars game that was developed by MIT. Then on the third day, I present some teaching videos. They will come online. I have not seen the students yet at this moment, right? They have played the game, they watch the videos. I then also post teaching material online. And that is mostly also related to the most recent research possible on this topic. So thereby you see also that relationship between research and education, which is very important at our university. And these teaching videos in part replace the regular lectures. And I like that a lot because that means that when I do give my lecture, and I do give a lecture, of course, that I do on the fourth day, but in that lecture I can go more in depth into the current interesting research that's being published, presented at conferences, for instance. And then also on the fourth day, I give the students quizzes. So comparable to what Nizar talked about, these quizzes are really interesting for people. Not only gives them satisfaction, but it also is one of the advantages is that actually people or students are going to read the teaching material that I put online on the third day, and they're going to watch the videos because, of course, there's a quiz and there's also a grade attached to that quiz. Deadline is on the fifth day. So here you see basically the idea that I have is kind of an idea where you first activate students in the first part of the week without offering the teaching material, and then later on offer them the teaching material so that they can be activated at multiple points throughout the week. This is an advantage because the lecture can cover more detailed topics. What I also noticed is that the moment that I didn't implement this type of teaching, this type of education, the success rate was about 60%, but it increased tremendously to about 80%, which is quite high. Grading is easier because I incorporate online exams and students begin learning earlier. And that is just because of this incentive that there is. They have to have a good grade for the quizzes because quizzes accompanied with the exam, the online exam, determine the final grade. But there are also some disadvantages. And the most important disadvantage is, I guess, significant time investment needed. People would say to me, well, okay, blended learning, that's nice, right? Less time would be needed, but that's actually not the case because you have to create new teaching videos every 2 to 3 years. That takes a lot of time. But also new quiz questions should be prepared every year. And the reason is that students often copy questions because, of course, these questions can be made online, right? So they do that at their homes and they can then also copy the questions. That's a disadvantage. So let's then look at the second course. The second course is, as I've told, an elective course. And this elective course, it's not required to follow this course. So I really get those students that are really interested in market-based standardization, right? So in that question of why are standards selected, what factors affect their success, what strategies can firms apply? Then I go into depth into various strategies, including time of entry strategies, marketing strategies, pricing strategies, and collaboration strategies. So I told you I wanted to say a little bit also about the kind of the philosophy that I have, and that is inquiry-based teaching, what I do a lot. And that means basically goes back to the kind of the ancient philosophers, right? In the Greek civilization, where you basically use it all started, teaching all started with just a philosopher that was teaching and lecturing on the corner of a street with a group of people and was actually also doing research because this person would ask questions and the pupils would answer them or answer back with questions. And that is what I also want to have in my lecture, in my lectures. So I start each lecture with a recent research question and I discuss that with the students. And they often also give input back and I learn from them. So there's a two-way relationship right here. And then that reciprocal relationship between education and research. But the nice thing is that students, as a part of this course, on technology battles, this elective course, students have to write reports on standards battles. And that also results in empirical material. And sometimes it's quite exceptional, but sometimes it happens that students also write papers based upon that empirical material. And then those papers can, of course, be used as input for future editions of the course as required readings. So there you really see that two-way relationship, that relationship between education and research in practice. So I hope I've told you a little bit about the education on standardization at Delft University of Technology. It is research-based, it is inquiry-based, and mostly blended. Good. Thank you, Maria.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Gerten. So now we are officially at the last part of the webinar. So we have allocated 10 minutes for the questions. Maybe if all the speakers, you can turn on the camera again. So in case there are, I saw that Ivana and also Nizar, you have already answered many questions in the chat. There are two that remain from Uttara Savant. Thank you, Tara, for your lively participation because you posed many comments. I don't know if any one of you would like to take these two. Okay, Ivana is still typing in one of these. And then there is a second one. And also, I think another question in the chat at 228. How can the tool be used to support STEM, science, tech, engineering, and math careers to students interested? So I don't know who would like to start and take any of these points.
I guess if I look at the first question of Uttara Savant, right, it is basically about maybe the kind of the standards battle that occurs in the committee, right? Is in and during the now it's gone. I was in answer. Okay.
You can find it in answered because Ivana is also typing her reply. But if you go in answered, you can still see it and provide your answer too.
Yeah.
Did you find it?
And basically, could questions be designed like a real world conflict resolution situation and multiple choice to get out of the situation as a win-win? This is basically something that I think at the end the participants in a committee would like to reach, like that win-win situation, especially if there's like 50% of the people would go for one technological proposal and 50% would go for another. Then that's the only possibility. Now, I do teach about that also in my course on technology battles. So I do teach about standard battles that occur during committee-based standardization, but it's not it's kind of the main topic. But I do think that, Ivana, you have developed a teaching game on this, right? We have played it once at the Euros conference, so I think this... Isn't there a game available?
Yes, and there is a game developed, and not only our game. You can find, I wrote it, that you can find the link to that game, and there are others game with the links to that. But the others, there are a lot of games which are simulation games, and they are simulate standardization, simulate work of meeting, standardization meeting, and develop soft skills in negotiation and other soft skills. So it is not something new for us, but in EDU4Standards teacher support tool, those games are listed and there are links. You can find the links for that. and you can use that game, but not all the game are freely available. So only you can find information about contact person and email, and you can contact that person for availability of that game. And we have last question.
Maria, yeah, with respect to the textbook, I received one question with respect to why law has not been included in the textbook. And it should be normally at the beginning. So let's say at the very beginning of the book. So yeah, just to clarify, as we started developing the book, we had engineers and management students in mind. And yeah, and law, yeah, we mention in the book, we highlight possible relationships between law and standards, or how regulation could get inspired or can refer to standards, but we do not dedicate a full chapter to that. So hopefully, perhaps in the third edition, and if there will be a third edition, then yeah, that topic will be definitely.
Thank you, Nizar, for clarifying this answer. I don't know if Ivana, you are completing the. Oh, okay. Claire told us there will be the third edition of the book, and law and regulation will be included. So that's good
Thank you
news.
very much, Claire.
Okay, so a couple of people also asked about the slides and the links, and I wrote in the chat that everything will be available on EDU4Standards website and in the next few days, and then when the material is available, we inform via email to all the registrants, but also to the newsletter subscribers. So it's also important that you subscribe to our newsletter so you don't miss all the relevant updates also for the future activities that we will have. Does anyone want to add any concluding comment, or I don't know, Ivana, if you have anything else um, to say, or we should close the event?
I will just say a few sentences about thanks to my colleagues. I learned a lot today, and I have some new ideas. Thanks for the questions, and I hope that we will soon be here again with experience of our others colleagues. So thank you so much. I don't have anything to say right now.
Okay, perfect. So thank you also from my side. It was a very smooth webinar with enough interactive participation, especially from a few of the participants. So stay in touch with us, and if you're interested, I give you, let's say, the appointment to next week, because we have already another webinar on the academic standard days. Have a lovely afternoon, everyone. See you soon. Bye
Thank you
bye.
very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye. Bye. See you
Bye
soon.
bye.